This episode of the Topcast is proudly supported by Rock School.
Hey piano teachers, what's your first reaction when a student brings a piece of pop music into a piano lesson? Is it... or maybe it's... what about... Whatever your reaction, pop music is here to stay, and I'm here to help you understand just how important and useful it can be in modern piano teaching.
You're listening to the Topcast, the original podcast for growth-minded instrumental music and voice teachers since 2015, with your host, Tim Topham. Our mission at Top Music is to empower instrumental music and voice teachers to find and nurture their innate creativity so that they can teach lessons that are innovative, integrated, and inspiring, and that will have a positive, lifelong impact on their students. Join us each week as we interview teachers and creators from around the world and unpack fun and exciting ideas to maximize your teaching and studio business success. Welcome back to the Topcast. It's Tim Topham here. Thank you so much for joining us again today. And today is the last episode in our month-long look at pop, contemporary, and jazz music. So I thought what I would do today is actually talk about the very first course that I ever created. And if we go right back to about 2010, this is when I started sharing videos online and writing blog posts about lectures and masterclasses and books I was reading and things I was doing in my studio. And it was the beginning of me being able to build an audience. Some of you may have found me way back then. And one of the things that I did after I'd collected a few thousand teachers, I guess, who were watching what I was doing and interested in my videos and blog articles, was ask them what they wanted help with. And the thing that came back time and time again from teachers at that time was, please help me teach my students pop music. I don't know what I'm doing. I never did this myself, and everyone is bringing in music and I don't know what to do. Help. And so this became the genesis for me creating my first ever course. And I distinctly remember creating this course myself. I did everything myself, all the video recording, editing. I set up the mics and I planned the course, and I did it in September 2014. I remember distinctly because it was the school holidays. I had 3 weeks off my regular teaching and I created the course, and then we put it up for sale soon after that. And that became the genesis for the whole of the TopMusicPro membership community. Because once I'd sold that course and had lots of teachers asking me questions, I thought, wouldn't it be great if we could share these questions and help everyone help each other in more of a membership group, a community of some sort. And that was why I started TopMusicPro. That was in March 2015. So just after launching this course at the end of 2014. So I thought what it might be fun to do today is I want to play you the first module. It's just about 10 minutes, which answers a lot of the questions about why I'm so passionate about teaching pop music and why hopefully you are as well. And then I also want to share with you, I thought it'd be fun to share the ad that I created for selling this course. And you know what? I've often said to anyone that wants to create things and put them out in the world that done is better than perfect. And you look back on the things that you did early on and you'll cringe. And look, this isn't too bad, but I certainly do go, oh, wow, did I really do that? I mean, you'll hear at the start of this a whole lot of screaming, which I thought was quite funny. I don't know if any teachers found it funny. I mean, I did sell the course, so I assume some people did. Let me know if you remember the video that I put together for this. And I'll share the link to this. You can watch this on YouTube, this clip that I'm about to play. It's about 4 minutes. And I'll put the link on our show notes page. That'll be at topmusic.co/episode 434 if you want to link through to it. And that was the ad that I created literally on the sales page for selling this course to teachers. And it was, I don't know. I mean, I sound so laid back and so Aussie when I listen to it. Maybe I haven't changed too much. I don't know. You'll have to let me know. Anyway, why don't we check that out now? And then I'll come back and we'll talk about this first module as well. And I'd be interested to know your thoughts on the answer to the question that I pose right at the end too. Let me know.
Hey piano teachers, what's your first reaction when a student brings a piece of pop music into a piano lesson? Is it... or maybe it's... what about... Whatever your reaction, pop music is here to stay, and I'm here to help you understand just how important and useful it can be in modern piano teaching. I expect just about every piano teacher has had the experience of a student coming into a lesson with a piece of pop music. Quite often they've spent hours and hours practicing it already. Sometimes they'll come to you and say, this is what I want to learn. The students, of course, are really excited. All they want from us is some enthusiasm and some help in being able to play something better than they already can. So our approach to the students is really important, both for their own self-esteem and also for their view of piano as an activity that they want to do. So let's look at a couple of concerns that you might have about teaching pop music in your lessons. First one that most people have is that there just isn't time in a lesson. Maybe you're just not familiar with the music that students are bringing in and you need a bit of help with that. Perhaps the music that they're bringing in is just unintelligible. What do you do then? Or maybe they've already learned it on YouTube, so what more can you do to help? Well, don't fear, you're definitely not alone in thinking these things. Hi, I'm Tim Topham, and the purpose of this pop piano teaching tutorial series is to help answer those questions and give you 100% confidence that you can deal with any piece of music that an excited student brings into the lesson. Okay, so let's have a look at the teaching series. Firstly, keep in mind that none of what I'm teaching you is song specific. I'm not teaching you guys how to teach Adele or Bruno Mars or Billy Joel or anything like that. What I am giving you is a whole lot of resources and tips and training in how to teach any kind of pop music at all, either with or without the music. It's an 8-part video series. So in video 1, we're going to talk about things you need to know before you begin, some of the skills you need to have, the mindset you need to have, and also we're going to talk pedagogically about why we would want to teach pop music anyway. In video 2, I'm going to give you a crash course in pop. This is going to be great for teachers who are classically trained and who need a little bit of help with chord progressions and understanding song form and that sort of thing. In video 3, I'm going to talk to you about where to find music. This is going to be great for when a student comes into your lesson and says, hey, I'd really like to play whatever it is, but they've got no music for it yet. In video 4, we're going to talk about what do you do when a student comes into the lesson with some music and says, I want to play this. How do you get started? What do you do? In video 5, we're going to talk about rearranging music so it's easier for your students to play. In video 6, we're going to talk about pop that works on piano. Some pop music definitely is more suited to piano. Some of it features piano much more. We're going to get stuck into that. In video 7, I'm going to help you with apps and online resources and technology that can really assist with teaching pop and also can be great fun for students for when they're playing pop. And in the last video, I've called Arranging 101. This is all about helping students create their own pop arrangements. Now, a few things to keep in mind before you begin. You've got to be open to learning with your students. You need to give it time as well, both in your lessons and in some preparation time too. Really importantly, you're going to make some mistakes and you might even have some epic fails in front of your students. And you know what? That's okay. We're both learning together and that's what this kind of teaching is all about. You're going to have to admit as well that you don't know everything and you're willing to learn. And that can be a bit of a jump for some teachers, but it's such a great thing when you get into it. And of course, we might have to work with music that we really don't like. Rap, R&B might not be your cup of tea, but for your students, it might be the thing that they really want to learn and we can help them with it. Great things though, of course, is that you're going to have super engaged students. Students who are going to be practicing heaps. You're therefore also going to have happy parents. You're going to be learning a whole lot of new repertoire and of course you can keep sharing that with other students as well. And you're going to learn a heap about teaching and you're going to be able to refer a lot of what we talk about in pop music teaching to teaching your classical students as well. Your students are going to learn heaps about theory and they're not even going to know it. And guaranteed, you're not going to get bored. I hope you're looking forward to this training as much as I am and I look forward to seeing you in video 1.
If you've got thoughts on that question that I posed at the end, then feel free to leave them in the comments at the bottom of the show notes page for today, topmusic.co/episode 434. Or if you're a member, you can leave them in our forums or in our Facebook group. Always great to hear from you. Now, I did want to share the first module of this course because the entire course is just as relevant now as it was back then, which I'm really proud of. I design all my courses to be what we call evergreen, i.e. they're not specific to a time and place and therefore go out of style or validity. They will always continue to be useful. The only courses that we've really had to completely update are courses about technology, like building websites and things like that, because that does indeed change a fair bit. But the pedagogical underpinnings of this course about how to teach a student pop music hasn't changed and probably won't change drastically, at least for the time being. So I really do encourage you to check it out if you're still a little bit on the fence about teaching pop music or want just a little bit more background and some more support, then this is a great opportunity to grab that. So I want to share with you the first module. It's about 10 minutes. as I said earlier, and it goes into detail about why teaching pop, I believe, is really important. Now, I have to say that while the content is still valuable, a lot has changed around teaching pop. Back in 2015, when this was all released, I spoke for the first time at the NCKP, the National Conference on Keyboard Pedagogy over in Chicago. And this topic, which was how to get the most out of teaching pop music, I think was my topic. And it was pretty wild. There wasn't a lot of creativity in that conference, and there wasn't a lot about teaching pop music. In fact, I don't think there was probably anything. Fast forward to today, and of course, this has become much more mainstream. And thanks in no small part to the amazing people like Bradley Sowash and Lila Viss, Forrest Kinney, and many others who have really pushed the importance of all of this. And I'm proud to be someone who has tried my very hardest to also change and shift this perception that pop music was somehow just a waste of time and we should focus on more important things. I hope that those of you who have been through this course or are interested in going through it will very quickly realize just how pedagogically sound my approach, my framework around teaching pop music can be. It can really enhance students' ability to understand so many aspects of music, and they're doing it at the same time as learning music that they love. Absolute win-win.
RSL Awards leads the way in creative education. We make qualifications and resources for everything from graded music and performing arts exams to practical vocational qualifications in sound engineering, theatre, and games design. So, if you want to be a musician, actor, lighting designer, dancer, or video game creator, we can help. Our success stories include million-selling artists like Ed Sheeran and the sound engineers who record him at studios like Abbey Road. Over 1 million people have an RSL certificate on their wall. So if you want to join the next generation of creatives, visit rslawards.com to find out more.
So it's great to know that we don't have to push so hard, I guess, to get teachers to even consider helping a student learn a song that they've brought in from online or downloaded or heard on the radio, or no one hears on the radio, do they? Heard on Spotify or heard on a film, or that they've watched a tutorial for on YouTube. There are always things that we can do to enhance what our students are bringing to us, and this course goes into a lot of that. But let's jump into the first module for now, just to get that scene set, and then I'll talk a little bit more about what else comes in this course and where you can actually find it if you haven't taken it yet.
Hi everyone, this is Tim Topham. Thanks for stopping by video 1. In this video, we're going to talk about some underlying factors regarding the teaching of pop piano. We're going to talk about whether it's actually relevant and useful, and a whole lot of things about your own mindset before you approach this tutorial series. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what kind of music we're actually going to be working on in this tutorial series. We're also going to discuss this idea of whether pop is just like a bit of junk food in your piano lessons, or does it have some more substance than that? We're going to discuss your mindset, the kind of things you need to be open to in your lessons to be able to teach pop effectively. And finally, we're going to talk about the 3 ways that pop will generally be introduced into your lessons. Let's just talk firstly what music we're talking about. The music in this series is about music that's often hard to find written out, or if you can find a written out version, it'll often be too difficult for your students. It's the sort of music that you hear on the radio and that students are streaming through Spotify or sharing with friends on Facebook or using SoundCloud for. It's music that's readily updated and continually replaced by new material, so we have to keep current. A lot of it's not piano-based, and we'll talk about that more in later videos. I recently had a couple of students ask me about some music that they'd like to learn. So one of them was Ed Sheeran here, Even My Dad Does Sometimes was the name of the track. I'll give you a quick listen to the start of it. As you can tell, this has got great potential for working on in a piano lesson because it's piano based. And when I went to Google, Even My Dad Does Sometimes piano sheet music, I found that, yes, sure enough, Music Notes had a version of it there, and it was reasonably playable. So that was one example where actually the music's around. There's still some work to be done and we can simplify it a lot and we can still pull it apart with our students, but the bulk of it's there. Another one, though, that I had more recently was a student that liked Lord, and this is one of her songs, The Love Club.
I'm in a clique, but I want out. It's not the same as when I was.
Now, there's not a huge amount of piano-based material in there, unfortunately. And when I came to actually search for it as well, the Love Club Lord piano sheet music, I found that there isn't actually anything here. This link goes to Lord's other song, Royals. That's an example of the sort of piece of music that I'll be able to help you learn in this teaching series and help you be able to approach with your students. Because at first glance or first listening, there's not a lot you can do with it. But absolutely, if a student is dead keen to learn that, we can definitely give them some options of things they can play. Now, this question of whether pop music's candy, it came up on a Facebook discussion some time ago, and there are arguments from both sides of the teaching faculty. It was the traditionalists saying that, Bach, Beethoven, Czerny studies, that's what should be making up piano lessons. Anything to do with pop is just candy, junk food, rubbish. And the other people saying, well, actually, in moderation, I think both is important. And I think that that's really the key. If you just teach pop music, then unless it's perhaps a teenager or an adult who really just wants to learn that music and that's okay with them, then you're probably not teaching a wholesome piano course. But the idea that one of them is good for you, one of them's bad for you, I disagree with. And I hope that later on in this video series, you'll come to agree with me, given some of the pedagogical aspects of piano teaching of pop music. I also believe that teaching students pop music is actually teaching them for their future. And there was a great quote that I heard a couple of years ago at a conference from Clavier Companion, which said, "Are we preparing students for our past or for their future?" And I think quite often we're preparing students for the past that's already been and perhaps not their future. I wonder how many students who come out of a 3-year degree at a conservatorium could actually play, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star in every different key quite competently, or who could just sit down and play some chords to accompany a guitarist who says, let's play the blues in E. These are kind of life skills and important things that will keep students playing in the future. And I think that's why pop, chords and chord progressions and that sort of thing is such an important part of piano education. First thing that's a great outcome of teaching pop is you're going to get instant engagement. Students are really going to respond to it, particularly if they've brought a piece of music in and you've run with it and helped them learn it. Now, pedagogically, I think this is so important because people really miss the point. You can learn so much about theory from studying pop music. Now, if we go back to those music notes, the sheet music, if we just learnt the sheet music like any other piece of music, then perhaps we would miss this point. But if we don't have the sheet music and we have to actually use our ears and we have to think about keys and harmony and chords, students are starting to learn theory as they go. And they don't even know about it. And it's so much more interesting than a dry theory book or writing 4-part harmony, for example. It's also giving them immediate relevance. These are skills that they can use in future piano performance when you're not around. Hopefully the skills we give them will enable them to be able to go, oh, I can probably try playing this myself. Or, oh, I know this piece is in A minor, so I know the kind of chords that are coming up. Oh, that sounds about right. Let's go with it. Learning about pop music also gives students a thorough understanding of composition. And yes, composition in a pop sense, but of course, pretty much all tonal music these days and back into the classical era is based on the same kind of harmonic principles. If students can start to analyze pop recordings and understand chord structures and movements, then they can do the same thing in either their written out piano solos or their classical or romantic piano music. As I'm going to show you in a later video, helping students arrange their own pieces of music can be so successful and rewarding for them. And you know what?
it's actually good for our teaching just to try something different. I've learned a lot from my students who've brought in music and I've gone, well, I've got no idea what this is, but let's go, let's do it. I'm going to learn along with you. It's the sort of thing that keeps your teaching fresh, keeps the connection with the students, and really boosts the energy in your studio. Now, I think there's a few important things about your own mindset before you embark on this. You've got to be ready to learn, and you've got to show your students that you're ready to learn as well. This isn't going to come necessarily immediately naturally to those of you who perhaps have taught classical music for 20, 30 years or however long it's been. You're going to have to work at it a little bit, but that's what this teaching series is all about. You also have to be open to failure, and this might happen right in front of your students. You might not be able to pick the next chord. You might have to go away and do a little bit of homework for them. Or you might try learning or working with them on a piece of music that just sounds rubbish, and you've got to go, sorry, no, that's a failure. Let's move on to something else. And that's okay as well. I'm a strong believer in the fact that as teachers these days, we aren't purely there to fill up our students with knowledge. We're there to guide them on a journey and facilitate their learning. In video 2, I'm going to talk about the prior knowledge that you really need to have to give yourself a good grounding in pop music before you teach it to others. So that's my crash course in pop, and that's coming up next. That's going to give you the background that you need. Now, there are really 3 ways that students will approach pop music in a piano lesson. For me, the most common way is a student bringing music into a lesson. So they'll actually have some sheet music they've downloaded off the internet, and they'll say, okay, this is what I want to play. And that happens a fair bit, particularly when you start to be open to students and say, look, you've got some music at home, bring it in. Doesn't matter what it is. Secondly, a student might just come in and say, oh, look, I really like Lord, for example, and I really want to play Royals. And then you have to go, all right, well, let's work on that. And then there's the option of a repertoire that you set for your students. So you say, perhaps you're predominantly working on written out music and classical music or romantic or exam syllabuses or festivals or whatever. But every now and then you just throw in something a little bit different to keep things interesting. So we're going to talk a lot about this in video 4. We're going to talk about when your student asks you to play something, what do you do and where do you go about finding the music in video 3? Setting repertoire for your own students, we're going to talk about in video 6 when we discuss pop music that works on piano the best. So that's a really basic, quick intro to the sorts of things you need to consider before you embark on the rest of this teaching series. Coming up in video 2, we've got the pop music crash course. So in this, I'm going to talk about chord progressions. I'm going to demonstrate them. We're going to have a look at examples as well. I'm going to talk about a great resource online called Hook Theory, which really helps all of your skills in teaching and understanding pop music. We're going to have a look at the relationship between chord progressions and the circle of fifths and enable you to use this in your teaching of other more classical oriented music as well. And we're going to check out pop music structure and song form. So real world examples will form the main part of all of this, and I'll actually be able to demonstrate some things at the piano for you. So that's coming up in the next video. Now, before you go, I'd love for you to share this with your friends. If you think this would be interesting for your colleagues, piano teaching friends, people at work, anything like that, please just have a look below the video. There are some sharing buttons. Please share it with your friends to spread the word. I'd love as many people as possible to get involved in this. And before you go, I've got a question for you as well. Does pop music have a place in professional piano teaching? So where you are with your understanding of this right now, what do you think as your answer to that question? And perhaps why or why not? Down below the video, there's a space for comments. I'd love to read about your thoughts on this question. Does it actually have a place? Is it relevant? Is it worthwhile? What do you think at the moment? Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in video 2. Okay, so module 1 has given you that sort of overview mindset, thinking about the whole approach to pop. So what actually happens in the course after that? Module 2, as you heard earlier in that very first introduction, is a real crash course in pop, how to teach it, how to play it, how it works. Module 3 is about finding music online. Now, this is something that is shifting and changing, but having had a look through it, the key principles are actually very similar to where they were 10 years ago. And I think it's really important to just have some go-to places that you know where you can find music. I have to say that one of the big changes that's happened is there is now Sheet Music Pass, which is a $149 per year subscription. It's basically Spotify for sheet music. And I would encourage any teacher who is working with any more than just a couple of students on pop music on a regular basis, you may want to consider this. It's from Sheet Music Direct, I think it is, Hal Leonard. And it's called Pass, P-A-S-S. It's just brilliant because you literally can just open this iPad app and search for a song and there's the sheet music in front of you. Great if you're a gigging musician or teacher, by the way, too. Module 4 is titled You Want to Play What?, which is really about how to deal with those horrendously bad arrangements that are brought in. Should you teach by arrangement? Should you go and make an arrangement? All of those kinds of things. I do talk in Module 5 about rearranging. It's called Rearranging for Dummies. Module 6, Best Pop for Piano. So I talk about some of the choices that you can make or you can encourage your students to make towards pop music that's a little bit easier than harder. Module 7 is about apps and technology. Some of that has changed since I recorded this video. Some of those apps are still very much available. Unfortunately, one called NoteStar was one of my favorites, is no longer available. However, there is a solution now in the books and technology provided by Rock School. Rock School's an exam board based out of the UK that examines students in popular music, and they have incredible technology now, which they've just released this year, that allows teachers and students to play along with backing tracks with the vocalist. They've re-recorded the vocals. They've got permission to do all that, which is what NoteStar is great for, and allows students to play along. And you can use this music. You don't have to necessarily have a child sit for an exam using it. If you want to just use the books and the technology, you can, of course, do that. I'll be sharing more about Rock School's new piano syllabus later this year and into next year as well, because there's some great things that they're doing if this is something that you're spending more time on with students. And then finally, Module 8 is about Arranging 101. I don't go into too much detail because we actually have another whole course. The one from Forrest Kinney about teaching lead sheets goes into much more detail about arranging. We also have the songwriting course and the play-by-ear course by Simon Rushby, who is a phenomenal teacher, ABRSM consultant and songwriter himself. So all of these courses go into much more detail about arranging, but I do talk about it in the last module of the PianoFlix course. So if you would like to check out the course, you can buy it if you're not a TopMusicPro member. Of course, if you're a member, this course is available to you inside our membership. But if you're not a member and you're not looking to join at the moment, then you can buy a year's access pass for this course for a one-off price only. And that's available over at topmusic.co/courses. That's our course platform where you can buy most of our courses as a one-off if you would just like that rather than a subscription. That's topmusic.co/courses, and you can search for PianoFlix, Flix. That's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I do hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure you download this month's magazine if you haven't done that already, topmusic.co/magazine. It's all about this topic that we've been talking about, pop, jazz, and contemporary teaching styles and teaching contemporary music. I do hope you're enjoying the magazine. We love putting it together for you. And that's it for today. Next week on the podcast, I think I'm being joined by Tara Wright, and we are talking AI because it's the start of a new month. Next month at Top Music, the focus is all on technology, teaching technology, and AI, and I am pretty excited to dive into that with you. Until then, I'm Tim Topham, and you've been listening to the Topcast. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll speak to you again next time.
How do you keep up to date with all the latest trends and research into music education? How do you connect with other teachers around the world and make sure your teaching stays fresh and relevant for students of all ages and stages, both now and into the future? I created our Top Music Pro membership to be the one-stop shop for music teaching resources, training, support, and community, and I'd love for you to come and join us inside. With over 40 comprehensive training courses, hundreds of teaching demonstrations and lesson plans, free monthly sheet music, discounts, and all the business and pedagogy support you could ever need, Top Music Pro is the community you've been looking for. If you're ready to level up your learning from the podcast and join thousands of other teachers in our global network, head over to topmusicpro.com today. If you enjoy this show and want to hear more of our work, be sure to subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening today. For links and resources mentioned in this episode, visit us at topmusic.co/podcast or check out the show notes. I'm Tim Topham. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy your week ahead, and I'll catch you next time.